Greetings everyone, this is Top Tier Tips. I'm Force of Nature, and I welcome you to your prime spot for tips and tricks to help you level up at Dead or Alive 5. Alright, so last session we went over the technique known as reactive string holding, which was focusing around holding the kind of follow-up within a string. So such as like a predicted follow-up within a string, and also kind of learning how to like option select your opponent's character strings. Well, this week we're going to be going over kind of a different related topic. This one's is a much more defensive oriented. It's known as turtling. And before you ask, no, turtling has nothing to do with turtles. It is a defensive playstyle based around forcing your opponent to do what you want them to do through the use of effective defense. Mainly what you're doing is attempting to let your opponents hang themselves by overextending on their attacks, thus leaving themselves open to punishment. This can include unsafety with regards. What you're doing is you're trying to work off your opponent's mistakes here, which is very handy against impatient or reckless opponents. So essentially, turtling is the opposite of rushdown, in the sense that rushdown is focused around pressuring your opponent with an onslaught of offensive techniques, whereas turtling is focused around pressuring your opponent with defensive techniques. Remember back in like a previous session during the pressure session, we went over defensive and offensive pressure. Rushdown is focused around offensive pressure, and turtling is pretty much the essence of defensive pressure. Alright, to put some things in perspective, we're going to be returning to the Book of Destruction, which I looked at in a previous session, in session number 6. Which the Book of Destruction was by the legendary DOA player, XDest, who was very, very adept at turtling. So he actually devised different kinds of turtles, so different kind of categories, different classifications. So, alright, let's just get to it. We'll just go through the different turtles here. Alright, the first one is called the aggressive turtle. Alright, what the aggressive turtle is one that will always kind of like go back and forth. What they're doing is they're trying to force their opponent to basically to take an action. Like, that's pretty much what the essence of pressure is getting your opponent to do something. If your opponent is not pressured, they won't do anything. They won't do what you want. If they're pressured, then they may start to panic and go, oh shit, I gotta do something to escape this pressure. Alright, so just like to continue on, the aggressive turtle is still kind of moving in a defensive manner. Like they're kind of like the in and out. What the aggressive turtle is doing is that they're basically just trying to wait for you to kind of make a mistake. Like they can be easily mistaken for a rushdown player, but do not be fooled. Do not take it the wrong way. Aggressive turtles are doing it with the defensive intent to make sure you do something wrong, so they can bite you right back in the ass all the time. Alright, I can kind of show you kind of an example of just like what turtling can kind of entail. Like if someone's just throwing something out, and what you do is you end up with punishment. Oh, I missed. See, turtling can usually involve whiff punishment and throw punishment. So I mean, like if you're fighting a character that's particularly unsafe, such as, well, Ayane herself, Christie, Kasumi, Phase 4, turtling them is usually generally a pretty good idea. because if they end up doing something unsafe, you can usually throw punish, or if they're like mainly a close range character, you can end up like whiff punishing like any mistakes they make, for instance. For the aggressive turtle though, they actually don't. You don't necessarily have to use like a turtle character to really do that. You can also use characters with good like mid-range neutral and good poking can be used for turtling. Like here, you could turtle with like Christy, for instance. I mean, she's generally considered a kind of a rushdown character, but if the opponent was to whiff something in front of you, you can whiff punish with like 4K. If they whiff something, you can run in, try and start your offense with like H+K, so different things like that. Low poke with 2 H+K. Start some like Jakayo mix-ups with 3K. So what this is that instead of just with a kind of an offensive-oriented character, what you could still do is that instead of going in there and kind of running the mix-ups, what you can do is try and have the opponent do an action first, then you whiff punishment and use that as your opportunity to pounce on them. So the aggressive turtle can work well with both kind of offensive and defensive characters. So any characters that have like good mid-range or good neutral can be done that way. Like you can also do that with like a character like Janli, for instance, who's kind of like pseudo turtle and pseudo rushdown. All right, I'll go on to the next one now. All right, we're gonna be looking at what's called the passive turtle. The passive turtle does not really care about just doing the back and forth or anything like that. What they do is they're focusing mainly on defending. So instead of going back and forth, they're just simply going to focus around like backing up. This means kind of backing up, waiting as much time as possible. Anything to exhaust the opponent's options. All right, if you go back to the very first session I did for this advanced series, was session 1 called movement. All right, if you're going to end up having a bit of a turtle style, a technique you're going to want to implement to make use of is, it's called the free step block back step, which is just 4-4 hold. Or if you need to get it into it quickly, you hold 7. If you end up doing this, what happens is that you block all high and mid attacks. So pretty much if the opponent kind of throws out anything on you, you're probably going to block it, because there isn't really much range lows. And most range lows are kind of slow anyway. I mean, unless it's something like a Bayman or Hanaka 66K, but even then, I mean, they have to run at you in order to like do something like that. So you're pretty safe just by doing this. And of course, simply by walking back, if someone's not careful with their spacing, they'll end up whiffing something, and you can end up getting like a counter hit with a move. So it's similar, in a way the passive turtle is somewhat similar to the aggressive. The only difference is that this turtle is focused a lot more on you kind of making mistakes. Like essentially them kind of getting, maybe they might get a little antsy, or they may not like having to play footsie. So what you do is just simply kind of hang around, like no closer than like mid-range. You just hang here and basically have them come to you. Where the aggressive turtle essentially is basically they can sometimes may even get in your space and stay relatively close, but you notice that they're not actually like committing to anything. They're just simply getting there, and like they still want you to attack first. Because obviously, I mean, if you end up using a bit of an aggressive turtle style, in order for them to beat it, well, they have to do something like run up, grab. But even that's risky if you catch on to it, because you can obviously get you could get counter hit if you run at someone who's like turtling you. But still, though, I mean. Yeah, if you know that someone is kind of focusing around turtle, then what that means is you're gonna have to focus on ways to open them up. Like essentially now, like with the first one, the aggressive turtle, like they're gonna stay probably the closest to you. The passive turtle is gonna stay a bit further out. And now I'm gonna go on to the third one now. Our third one now is called the turtle's shell. Alright, with this turtle here, turtle shell, they'll just space and wait. They don't care. They're confident in their abilities, and they'll wait for you to do something wrong, and they basically won't take an action until they see you do something. So basically, this is the kind of playstyle that annoys the shit out of people online. Like, this is what people say is, why the hell do you like space so much? Like, these people would generally be the like turtle shell. It's like this. Like, let's say this is like Dojo. You're backing up. I'm on the aircraft carrier, which is just as obnoxious as Dojo, but it's at least it has walls. The turtle shell will go as far away as possible. They don't give a damn. This is like what this works really well with characters like Ain, Hitomi, Lisa, Ayane, Nao Tengu. I mean, there's probably others. Don't know about Raidu, but like with like Ain or Nao Tengu have no problem staying at like the end of the green, because Nao Tengu will just blast you with wind all day. So obviously, if you stay here, if you have like any life lead at all, in order for the opponent to be able to come back and be able to win or anything like that, they'll have to come to you. I mean, yeah, I mean, this is a 3D fighter, so long range attacks are kept to a minimum. In order to, the only way you can really end up beating someone that does this, well, you're eventually gonna have to come into them. If you actually happen to have long range attacks like Raidu or Nao Tengu, then you can try and do that, although it won't really open them up. What you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to inch your way up. Basically, you have to end up knowing your character's ranges and try and engage the opponent in footsies, such as control and pokes. Because obviously the turtle shell, it's all defense. And for a character like Ain, I mean, playing a defensive game is actually a fairly optimal playstyle for that kind of character who it really specializes well in whip punishment. Alright, I'll let you know that the turtle shell, out of all the three kind of turtles, is actually probably the most difficult one to make use, implement into your playstyle. Like, this card cannot be played by everyone. It's pretty much playing all your cards on your defensive skill. There is no more offense, like nothing. It's just pure turtling. So it's essentially entirely based around a punishment and working off your opponent. I mean, this kind of turtle will sometimes be dangerous depending on the player's skill with the art of defense. If the reaction is quite good and the defense is quite good, you might actually have your work cut out for you. I mean, you actually don't very commonly run into people that actually can really play the turtle shell well. I mean, like online you might run into people that actually do back up a lot, like those that just hit 4-4 or something. Like, you might run into those well, but those people actually aren't doing a turtle shell. They're just simply running away. Because really what happens is they do this, sometimes they might get tired of waiting and they roll in and like do something stupid, I don't know. Like, well, with like what are some stuff that people do when they get tired? Oh yeah, everyone's like personal favorite. There's somehow the pseudo mix-up. Roll in K and roll and throw. So what they're going to do is they just run away, which actually is not a bad thing itself, but then when they get tired and they come in and they do something stupid, they just throw something out. So one way you can actually deal with people like this is basically turtle them back. Basically show that, oh, you think you got good defense? So, I mean, if you're going to do that, then see how you can like kind of come in and like deal with that. So one way you can break turtles is by turtling them back. If their turtling ability is actually really good, then if their turtling ability is really good, then yeah, then you're not gonna be able to turtle them. Then you're gonna have to try and like inch your way in and try and engage them in footsies. Then when you get any chance, and if you can get the turtle to kind of whiff something, then you can run up to them and pressure them. Because what you want to do for a turtle is not to let them get away. Like another character that's also very turtle heavy is like Lisa, for instance. When she's not on offense, she wants to get the hell out of there. She wants to run away, but when she does get on the offense, her offense can be, and her grabs can be quite potent. But before she gets beyond like the neutral game, she's not gonna want to be like in your face, for instance. But yeah, those are like just different things that to point out. So I'm just gonna kind of go on now with I'm gonna focus around like character importance now. Like, I've gone over quite a bit of sessions now, going over different kind of aspects of the game. So, I mean, once you start to get all these different points down, once you've gone through like previous sessions, you should start to be able to get a good idea of what character you want to focus around. Alright, I'll just let you know, not all characters can turtle well. I mean, like DOA5 last round is very balanced, but it doesn't mean that everyone can be played the same way. Some people might complain that it's just you just initiate a stun, run random mix-ups or something. But really, it's not. That's not how it is. If you're, it doesn't work. If you end up stunning someone, then that's usually a result that you've been opened up. All right, there. If you've been opened up, that means that it's usually as a result of being counter hit, so you made a mistake somewhere. There are some moves that stun on like normal hit, but obviously if you're fighting someone that turtles well, they're not gonna get counter hit most. Like in the DOA, it's actually not that bad to get hit on normal hit. I mean, yeah, I don't really recommend getting hit, but there are a lot of moves like Ione's like 3P is actually really negative on normal hit, but that's a different story altogether. I mean, it has a very delayable follow-up, but that's kind of besides the point. Like if you know someone's gonna throw out something like negative, and if you can call them out on it, then you can like punish them for that. So I mean, that's like a big dynamic with Dead or Alive 5 last round, is knowing how to utilize turtling and knowing how to utilize offensive pressure, so how to utilize rush down pressure. Alright, so let me just do a little bit of a breakdown here. Alright, I said earlier not all characters can turtle well. Some characters were made to space, some were made to pressure, but all characters were made with specific purposes in mind. If you stray away from that purpose, you might be making things harder on you. But if you end up playing like a relatively like well-balanced character, well, Ione herself and Christy are pretty well balanced, but you do have to kind of like maybe look that over for yourself. So with the character you choose, you need to make make the decision yourself. Does your character have good whiff punishers? Do they have I mean, just basically like moves that you can use if opponent like whiffs a move in front of you? I mean, stuff like that. Do they have good defensive intercepts, which is very similar? That's basically counter hitting an opponent's move as they hits air. So if you hit it before their move fully comes out, or if you just barely whiff punish it, then you can get a counter hit, which is usually scored by your move connecting before the opponent's move will connect with you. Good special movement technique, like Ione or like Lisa or like Christy have very evasive kind of movements, and there's some other characters, but yeah, I'm just thinking stuff in my mind. Or even like Kasumi has like good movement for like getting in, but not necessarily for running away. Well, yeah, she's got 7P, but yeah, that's just like different stuff to look at. And if they don't necessarily have good ways of getting away from their opponent, they're probably not a turtle-oriented character. All right, with these various turtle types laid out here, I mean, aggressive turtle, passive turtle, and turtle shell, you need to decide whether a turtle playstyle may suit you, and if your chosen character excels at it. So remember to look back at the pressure section to get an idea of what playstyle you prefer, offensive pressure or defensive pressure. Offensive pressure, again, is getting in there, mixing up your opponent, forcing them to have to take an action to escape the pressure. Defensive pressure is forcing your opponent to have to eventually come to you in order to be able to win the match. So keep in mind what you prefer. If you're uncertain of which primary playstyle to work around, you could try out a character like Hitomi or Janley, who can be played in both an offensive or defensive manner. Basically, they can do both. They work well with offensive pressure or defensive pressure. Knowing when to turtle and when to rush down is a very useful skill in DOA5, and which will definitely help you be successful. Anyways, that's it for this session. So don't forget to rate and subscribe and leave some beautiful comments down below. And thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Top Tier Tips.